All right, everybody. I am so excited to be with you today. Today's episode number 42. I know we haven't talked for a while. I think the last time we put out an episode was the end of the fall in 2021. And as some of you might already know by following me on social media, etc., that was towards the end of the year, and we had a new baby, and we've decided also the following year to move to Florida. So within 6 months, we made it happen, and we recently moved to Florida. It's been about 6 months now, so we're settled and everything. And with the events that's happening in the future, short-term future, I'm really excited to get back to the relaunch of the podcast, to get into the swing of things. And the conversation today, honestly, I just really want to share in reflection to having taking the break and the gap almost a year ago or over a year ago, was that there were so many things that I want to reflect on. And just relaunch the podcast, I want to share with you today on our episode 42 that the 7 things that I have learned since the inception of my business, and especially through the pandemic, through the move, and now, considering we're closing or at least started the third quarter of 2022. I know so much has happened, but the really 7 rules that I really have been applying and also have learned from my mentors, and to really be successful and ultimately being successful, is the number one thing I realize is attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. Nothing is as bad, right? Like we just came out of the pandemic. I'm sure some areas we're still going through a lot of changes, but rather than looking at everything as being negative or everything is happening to me, perhaps it's an opportunity to really reflect and see what can I really change and what's my attitude towards that, right? Can you imagine being one of those people that, how's your day going? It's all right. It's okay. It's so, right? Perhaps find a silver lining and be one of those people that when people ask, how is your day going? Oh my goodness, it's fabulous. It's amazing. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm traveling, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Attitude is truly everything, and it's also contagious. I know you have been in a room before when someone walked in and light up the room, and you've been in a room where someone walks in and everybody wants to leave, right? So attitude, number one, biggest role in success is having a great attitude and being that person that is so contagious that people want to be around. And the second piece to this that's super important, especially coming through and coming out of the pandemic, is responsibility. That you get to be responsible for everything that you have in your life and anything that you don't have in your life. Um, I mean, I came from nothing. You guys know already, I'm first generation immigrant. I grew up in almost poverty. We had barely had enough. Like we had just enough to eat and survive. And so I get to be responsible, right? Like when I moved to the States, I had to work from the bottom up. I did everything. We had businesses together where I did everything, that could possibly be done by a business owner with a brick and mortar business, salon business, and restaurant. You guys know my story already, that I get to be responsible. And even I know for some of you may be thinking, well, I was just driving and somebody hit me from the back. Well, yes, it could be someone's fault, but at the same time, how could you be the person responsible for the scenario, for that particular scenario? Perhaps if you would have left earlier, you wouldn't be rushing, you wouldn't be driving a certain way to where you'll be attracting that accident, someone hitting, you from the back, right? And if you're on time to something, then it wouldn't have that energy of rushing and etc. So I'm just really sharing that you get to be responsible for anything and everything. And unless in that place you can have the power to change what you don't like about your life or your business or, your weight or the way you look, however it may be. So responsibility is key. Thirdly, I'm guilty of this. As you can see, I took a break from the podcast. But honestly, I missed it. I missed it. The period of time where we put out the first 41 episodes, it was consistency that was getting me there. I remember there were times where my kids were so young that during the day I was so distracted by taking care of them, juggling work and etc. I have to record the episode at late at night, like after they have gone to sleep. But that's really staying consistent with my word, doing what needs to be done. And so the relaunch of the podcast is bringing me back to one of the biggest rules to success is being consistent. Being consistent. And what I have also learned is we have really expanded and grown so much over the past year was that you have to earn as you learn. And at Fit to Profit, the philosophy is you want to fly with the rocket while you're building it. So, same thing, like I'm taking on opportunities where I want to say 75% confidence I could do the thing, but the 25% I would have to learn. But because of those opportunities that I was courageous enough to take, where I don't have to have everything perfect or everything, every duck in a row, I just trusted myself that I would figure it out. It worked out. I learned so much about, marketing. I learned so much about building sales funnel. I learned so much about building landing pages, etc. Learning the technical side of things that I could never imagine myself learning. And, I earned those businesses and opportunities. And, I was then really earning as I'm learning. So that's another key too. Say yes. If you have an opportunity where you're not 100%, but you know mostly about the particular topic, I would say yes and figure it out. Because there isn't anything that you can't learn unless you're committed to it. You're responsible for it. One thing that I really love, and this is also in one of the chapters of my book where I call failure as feedback. And I believe I talked about it in one of the episodes too, is that if instead you treat failure as an opportunity to iterate, to make changes to that, you know what not to do next time or what to do better next time, wouldn't you consider that feedback instead of failure? And I heard this is the greatest acronym that I learned for the word fail is first attempt in learning. Truly it is. Because if you take every failure as feedback, that's an opportunity for you to become better and do better at whatever it is that you're striving to do. The sixth, and really truly again, help me with making the decision to launch a podcast is keep showing up, right? You just keep showing up day in and day out, every single day, especially when you don't feel like it. Because every time you show up when you don't want to, it gives you an opportunity to see that you're actually capable. And the reason why you contemplated on not showing up is because the subconscious or whatever you're going through, your mood, your emotions, whatever it may be, was holding you back, in comfort. And you're not really working with being outside of your comfort zone. So showing up, keep showing up no matter what. And last but not least is to stay in action. Again, another reason why I'm relaunching the podcast is to stay in action, to do whatever it is that you are striving to do, right? Like the Fear Factor podcast, I was inspired to launch it right at the beginning of the pandemic for the reason being is that, we are so afraid of everything in life. We're afraid of losing a job. We're afraid of not making money. Now we're afraid of the recession, whatever, right? But stay in action. Take it one step at a time. Really trust yourself, get mentors and support around you, and keep showing up, you will make it, right? Like business and life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So take your time with it. Use this 7 rules to success, ultimate success that I've shared with you. Number 1 is having a great attitude. Secondly, take responsibility for everything that you have in your life or you don't have in your life. Being consistent, make sure that you're really earning as you're learning. Treat failure like feedback. Keep showing up. And last but not least, stay in action. Stay in action. And I have so much in store for you and, for the rest of this year as we relaunch the podcast. And I look forward to hearing from you if you have any comments. Yes, more news next week. I'll talk to you soon.